I think at that point it's a win-win situation. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure. This thing isn't broadcasting. What the hell? I'm on that other microphone again. I don't know if I'm on this. All right, I think I'm on the right microphone now. Right. I'm actually better in my bare feet. I guess I walked around all day for nothing in my shoes. Hurt myself. Right. There's something wrong with my shoes, that's for sure. Well, my bare feet, I feel much better. And I probably have some residual from walking around in my shoes. So again, the win-win situation would be that Emil Bove meets with the Agents Association representing the agents, and then also puts the fate of the DOJ attorneys in, because they're just going to order their jobs back. I mean, you're going to sit there and you're going to go like 6 months, a year, whatever it is, and they're going to order these people money from the government, and they're going to order their jobs back. Thanks, Larry. I mean, I don't know where he thought it was okay. I mean, it'll give the agents a choice. Right. Yeah, I was in my shoes all day, and I think they're just trash for my back. Right. Well, I don't know. Again, to kind of go into the guy I did, it takes an additional 2 weeks because he has to get the inserts, and I don't even know if they're going to work. I just wish he could have just gave me a pair of regular inserts and told me what shoes to buy. Right. But I think that's your best case scenario. Right. Win-win. You're not going to be able to get rid of them unless they really mess up somehow. Right. Because you already did that. It's obviously retaliation. So the court can't, the prosecution takes, again, you've got that kind of hemmed up, and I'm not sure what the court's going to say about all that if it gets questioned all that. Like, people can sue, right? Right. Not saying, there's anything that can be done immediately, but the court could take notice and, again, say that there's a system, but can say, yeah. Right. But again, civil cases. Court can just kill you with civil remedy. Right. Right. So Trump's starting to dispatch people on diplomatic negotiation. So maybe we can do, and Mr. Hegseth has already spoken to his Mexican counterparts, right? So maybe we'll get this whole tariff thing worked, and we can start working on the psychology of the market, right? Thank you, Lawrence. Well, Mexico, the issue is the corruption. Again, you can make all these deals, spend all this money, and it goes for naught because, again, a portion of the criminal activity is protected because of corruption. Okay, where are we? So it gets to the point is, do we really want to go through this again? Do we want to actually trust Mexico to enforce this somehow and then put the money in and put the effort in? Again, that's where it comes with as far as do we want to do it ourselves in some way? Again, so maybe in conjunction with them, we could do it. Right? Send a drone in with them, prepare the way. I just don't know what the answer is. Again, if I get to a better life, I could probably come up with better answers. No, I really didn't know it was like Trump's attorney. I was like, who is this person? Emily Bovine? I swear that's what I thought it was. I was thinking, was this like some career woman? What is she doing? Because I thought she was setting Trump up. Because you're going to be in court on it unnecessarily. Right? Thank you, Larry. Thank you. I just don't know why he didn't know that. Right. I mean, it's just, I mean, with it being Trump's attorney, it's open and shut. Those agents and DOJ people probably have nothing to worry about. I mean, I don't think they do. I mean, they got assigned a case and they did it. Right. Thank you, Larry. So I don't know. I don't know why a court would allow it. I mean, I understand that it's very easy to fire attorneys and FBI, and it's happened when they, or get rid of them, whatever you want to call it, right? Especially when they change. Yeah, it's usually like just the political operators, and maybe you think they're political operators, I don't know. And then now you're finding there's 1,000 FBI agents. I mean, it just was not. You never should have went down that road. Well, again, I think the answer to save face and to as long as all the agents and the DOJ people agree, that they're not going to sue at this point. Right. Again, maybe if it's a couple, then you write them off or whatever. But because then they didn't accept the offer to take their job back. Right. They're not a consequence because you offered them. If you offer them a job back, the court would not be sympathetic, I think. Thank you, Larry. So again, you just chalk it up to, we came to an agreement. I don't think you need to say anything more than you came to an agreement. As long as everybody agrees. And again, the only person the only people that I know can do it is probably the people that are already speaking on it. Right. So I think the FBI Agents Association should meet with somebody in DOJ. And I think the DOJ people that were let go should be included in the decision. And whatever you meet on. And, they're going to argue. I'm sure that the FBI Agents Association will say, look, these people are just doing their job. There's nothing else they can do. They can't. The point is that there was a case. Right. Well, maybe Emil Bove was psychologically tortured. I don't know. It could be that. I always got to remember, they may have deep stated him, but he's just all shaky jaked and shit. I get there when they do me, right? But I'm not in the Justice Department firing people. Right. Thank you, Larry. Well, if you all went into him with deep state, I'm sure he's freaked out in the mind around any of you. He just want to kill you, right? They did it to me. Well, I think they should meet and just, say, we would, prefer that because again, your intention to sue is there, I'm sure. Right. Well, you don't have to bring it all. As long as they go with it, we don't need the specifics. Nobody has to publish the specifics. Right. In fact, probably should meet. And then everybody gets their job back and nobody. The system may actually be protecting those agents. I know it might be weird for some of you. The system itself may be protecting the agents because they didn't do, mostly didn't do anything wrong. Sure, did something wrong in their life. Right. So it may have, caused this. Because again, I couldn't protect you from not doing it. Because I would have said, Bo, that's Trump's attorney. You can't do that. Right. No, he can't. He has a personal gripe with those people, right? 100%, which makes it worse. And then he's like, the appearance of impropriety because he's directly connected to Trump. No, they just were doing their job. I don't think the court's going to be sympathetic to any argument. Well, the idea is that you don't believe that they'll carry out the president's mission because they investigated him. Again, it's not in evidence, right? And essentially, I think, the court may say, okay, give him a full retirement. Right. You see? Because you're the ones that assigned him to it. The court's not going to see Emil Bove any different than, what was that guy's name that was running that place? Garland. Right. To the court, Garland's the same as Emil Bove, a representative of the Justice Department, the senior rank. I guess at this point he's actually running it. So the court doesn't say, oh, this is Trump's government instead of, Biden's government. The court doesn't see it that way. That's why the DACA argument failed. Right. Well, essentially, the same people as Emil Bove put them on that assignment. But to the court, that's the way it looks. Emil Bove is nobody different than, a senior member of the Justice Department. Right. Agreed. Like you're looking at it, well, I don't think you can make the argument. Again, I don't think that just because somebody has gender dysphoria that they have, these character traits that you all try to lump into their life. Correct. I mean, it's a Christian argument, and you could probably win in a few churches. But I don't know if you're going to win in the court. Well, it's an individual thing. So you're essentially discriminating against him by making that statement. I don't know who told him to. Did Bondi look at it? Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if she's even going to be Attorney General at this point. Correct. I mean, she's great, but I don't know if anybody else. I don't know who else would do it. She's got a lot of intrinsic power. Right. I mean, to kill the pill, be the first. I think she's like the first person in the country to kill the pill mills. Right. Again, of course, I was in there. So I can connect well with her as far as getting the work done. So I would hope that she was in there. I mean, I connect pretty well with Hegseth inside. I mean, it's nothing big. It's just I know that trying to get him up and get him somewhere. Get him to again. Drop the DEI thing. Just start talking about people that aren't like you were. He started doing it, but he still used the buzzwords. Right. Or people that just aren't qualified. But again, you can get there without DEI also. Right. Well, you're going to have to fight that battle later then if you want to, and maybe even sooner than later. I don't know when the court's going to pick it up. Thank you, Larry. You're welcome, whoever you are. There's a psychic blip. Elon Musk is through. That's it. Oh, another one came in on Elon. That doesn't come in like that. Agents, officers. Signed, agents, officers. I understand what happened to Elon, but Elon doesn't understand some things. Right. Well, I would just discuss with Mr. Ratcliffe what the best case scenario is there. I mean, he knows better than me. Oh, you can find out. You could ask the right people. But, okay. So is Marco Rubio back left? Yep. Or is he still Panama? It sounds like Marco Rubio inside. He needs to. He should be in on it too. I mean, he's busy right now, but right. Well, I don't know. The idea where the State Department's going to do their job. Again, they said it's very well. I don't know what you're doing. Are you going to can all those people? Again, you really can't can all of them, but. Well, they really don't work for the State Department. What kind of do? Or whatever the agency. So, again, all right. We might want to try to privatize some of that. I don't know. Right. Thank you. That would work. But again, you're going to close down a lot of it. I understand. Well, you have to. Again, it isn't always spying or anything like that. But yeah, it's civil affairs. So, but the same people that spy run civil affairs. You have to talk to them. All right. Thank you, Larry. Well, no, yeah. No, you should talk to Mr. Ratcliffe about what you're planning to do there. So, well, he can make sure that it happens the right way, right. If at all. Right. Thank you, Larry. That's pretty much why we're refusing to give you access. Actually, and I'm going to let it out. The people that were refusing to give you access might work for Mr. Ratcliffe. I mean, I don't know, but. Thanks, Larry. Well, what I would do is I would just, the only thing I can see is if you go to maybe do some. But again, the question is if we put it into, I don't know how efficient the agency is. Obviously, they're into other shit too, like climate and all that. Right. So, that may be a divergent. That may be diverging from the original intention. Again, there's several options. Right. Including maybe. I mean, if you cancel the program and you cancel it, but NGOing it and stuff like that. Right. Well, I mean, there may be intelligence reasons that these people wanted to continue with something. Again, you're not clear to know what they actually do. And neither am I, but they tell me things inside. There you are. Thank you, Larry. Again, the harsher you are, the more people are going to just laugh at you and let you fall on your face. I'm one of the few people that, you know, don't want that to happen, because it doesn't serve the people for you to just keep making mistakes like that. Right. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, there's two guys on leave. I don't know who they are. They might actually work for Mr. Ratcliffe. um, they may have been trying to get you to stop by saying that the State Department couldn't do their job. The CIA could, but it doesn't work as well. That's not the whole agency, though. All right, they just send reports, huh? They know what to look for in the community, right? As far as what might be intelligence value. Right. Well, there's not a lot of ways to get people into places we need people in. That's one of the ways to do it. Right. Like without USAID, we might have very minimal, if no, intelligence capability in some countries. Put it bluntly. Right. I mean, there may not be a need, just keep an eye on what's going on. Right. In other words, they could actually stop ISIS, Al Qaeda from recruiting people by simply writing a report, and then actions are taken on that report. Thank you, Larry. But these are not like just these liberal. I mean, they could be liberal idiots, or some of them could be. But USAID is not a liberal idiot organization generally. Could have been shifted. I don't know. Thank you, Larry. Right. If they see Al Qaeda influence in some third world country, they'll write a report, and then we have people that handle that. Thank you, Larry. I don't know. I didn't know anything, and I woke up, and then everything was before me. No, I was supposed to be in the CIA. It was obvious, but they killed me. Killed me even when I was a kid, Right. I had all the knowledge that I had to be connected into them all those years. It was probably, some of it was probably to those magazines I used to read as a kid, SOF and Gung Ho. So somehow I connected in. Right. If I was asleep. Thank you, Larry. Right, they may have been part of getting me into the military, but again, some people killed me. Right. Again, they may have killed actually the military too, and that's why it didn't work. Right. 100%. It's an inside thing. It's just, we want that person here, whoever it is, that kind of thing. Oh no, they killed him. He can't come here anymore. Anyway, now I'm in people's heads. So again, the way to do it is you have to figure out what you're going to do as far as foreign aid. Again, you have to meet with certain people as to how those programs help us with other things that we do, kind of civil affairs programs. So again, let's say we want to influence a couple tribes in some distant land to help us with something. We can bring them in, they start feeding people, we befriend them, and then we say, did you ever see this guy here before? His name is Vutu Tutu. 100% better. Thank you, Larry. And it's funny because I was speaking about civil affairs and psychological operation, right? They're part of our civil affairs network. That's the best way to put it. Thank you much. And all I'm allowed to say, actually. Right. Russians obviously know that we use it for stuff, right? Because they do the same thing. Chinese do the same thing. Thank you, Lurch. Thank you, Lurch. God bless you, sir. And people weighing in from around the world. Thank you, Lurch. Right. So it's the idea is, what is our money actually doing? Is it actually just doing what it at face value, or is there something operational that it's doing? Again, that's part of it. Well, again, we don't want wars, and sometimes these type of things help us stop the war before it begins, so we don't, costly warmongering, right? I'll tell you, it's been able to interdict terrorist influence. They didn't physically do it; someone else did. But based upon what they saw, they could provide an intelligence report, and then we don't have to worry about the region falling to ISIS or Al Qaeda or anything else. Again, it could be like an Al Qaeda offshoot starting up somewhere. Right. Because again, that's generally where they go, is where these programs are. So there's a little bit more behind that whole thing. That's why they were telling you they didn't want you to let you see the intelligence reports. I mean, did they use the term intelligence reports? They may have been trying to cue you away from their thing. So listen to what they say if they're saying you can't have access, because there may have been a reason. Well, maybe they figured he didn't know, and I think maybe they could have cued him that, hey, this is really something other than what you think it is. And again, Biden was in there. Maybe there were some Democrats that took it over and tried to influence people in that direction. Right. So again, there could have been corrupt use, but it doesn't mean that it didn't have any use. Right. So we run civil affairs programs all around the globe, and it has a military purpose. It has like an intelligence purpose. Right. It's just not feeding people sometimes. It's just the way to have it work. Right. So like you could like end a USA program. We have no eyes or ears, and then Al Qaeda takes it over, and every American in there gets killed. And then we could get stuck in a war because like ISIS, that should have never happened. That's insane. ISIS in Iraq is insane. Somebody dropped the ball. And again, we didn't stop them like day one. We should have had airborne troopers on the ground day one, waxing them before they got to the Iraqi soldiers that we trained. That's a disrespect to everybody that was over there in that war. I mean, Jay died over there. You didn't try to hold it and keep ISIS out. Should have been immediate deployment of troops, Rangers and Special Forces and SEALs and all that stuff. Like aviation. Actually, the aviation could have got there first. It would have waxed them. Never would have made one iota. Again, we didn't have to send ground troops, but I would have. Right. ISIS could have been stopped by an intense aviation assault. That was open desert. They had nothing to hide behind. They'd have been finished. They wouldn't have been able to kill all these people. These are the people that work with us. Again, it's like the FBI agents, It's like, but years ago. Let's take them out for doing their job. Right. We could have stopped ISIS's takeover of Iraq with mostly aviation assets. It was open desert. You just had to make that decision day one to destroy them. And you would have been like the highway of death in the Persian Gulf. Correct. It was simple. But then they got into all those communities and they were with the people, because they were moving from city to city or town to town, whatever it was. So when they moved into the open, then you wax them. They would have stopped moving. Right. In fact, we would have lured them into the open at a certain point. Right. Well, they would be separated from the other people. Right. Now, ISIS could have been taken out before they ever took Iraq. Right. Yeah, aviation assets would have been there within a few hours or a couple hours, I guess. Right. I think we still had Bagram, I think, up. Right. Bagram could have just waxed them. And then we had stuff up in Italy, I think. Right. And the Naval Air Station in Signola or whatever it is. That's one of them. There's another one in Italy somewhere, I think. Or in Europe. Aircraft carriers, just everything, just unload. Unload your munitions on ISIS while they're trying to take over Iraq, and it would have been over before it started. Right. See, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where you leave and then you come back, Right. Where we left Iraq, but we never had the return plan, which I thought they understood to have, because we always used to do that. Right. We're forger, that kind of thing. Right. So we should have had, aviation assets, just all aviation assets available that could, get to Iraq within a short period of time, because those soldiers could hold out with with U.S. aviation support, and then of course we would have dropped some SF in there, right? Some Rangers, right? In fact, I think they could have VTOL'd or helicoptered in too, right? Right. Send all the refuelers, tankers that way. It'd have been easy. I was so mad. So disrespectful to that entire conflict prior to it. Disrespectful to the Iraqis. Because they were our buddies. They did what we asked. Right. And just watch them get executed all day. And, Jay died over there so they could, have their own government. And have an honest government. Right. All you got to do is just say all aviation assets to wax this ISIS thing, and 5 would have been alive probably at the end of the day. And they'd been they'd be waving Iraqi flags instead of that other thing. The last thing they would have wanted you to know that they were ISIS, right? Yeah, highway of death. That's simply it. During the Persian Gulf War, same thing, but with ISIS. That's what should have been done. Give them the highway of death treatment. Give them the highway of death treatment. You keep that in mind. Something might be coming up. Thank you, Larry. Because it was perfect because they would go out into the open. You know, you couldn't, to get them in the cities, you risk collateral damage, but they were just going from city to city and they were in the open traveling between cities. And then you just wide open kill them. Right. 100%, Larry. Yeah. Thank you, Larry. So again, yeah, the best thing to do is just, like I said, drop it. It's just not worth it when you look at all the laws and rules around it. Right. And again, Emil Bove may have been psychologically operated. He just maybe whacked from it. And he's like, I get him, I'm going to get him. I mean, I've been there. Right. But the best case scenario for everybody involved is for the FBI Agents Association. I don't think the DOJ has any the employees have any representative. They may want to send an attorney in with it. I don't know. Again, I don't know that they may not want that much exposure. Right. But again, it's simple. You send the Agents Association in, they sit down, present their point of view. You say, well, and I don't know what you're going to ask them to agree to. Maybe you can come up with some bullshit. And then you say we have an agreement, and then right. But you could say, well, they have to understand that everything Donald Trump, you can act like that, like take your point of view. Right. Well, as long as you can ensure that these agents will carry out the mission the way they're supposed to, everything that Donald Trump says, again, within reason. Again, if he says something illegal, should be doing it. Again, you have to be careful. Don't know where you are in your minds, but it isn't looking good 2 years down the road. Right. And you have to fight these fights. Whoever's the attorney general has to fight these employee lawsuit fights while you're trying to fight the immigration fights and maybe the war in Mexico fight if we end up, using drones or whatever it is down there. Now, they may agree to the drones. Right. That'd be Hegseth and maybe, some other people. But, well, see if you can get them agree to allowing us to help them with drones. I mean, it's their safety. Right. They don't have to go in and be killed. We can send a drone in. Again, my concern is the safety. What I identified as the first issue is making safe military and law enforcement, because you have a choice. You either die and your kids are killed, or you be corrupt. That's what's happening. No, nobody has the ability to protect them because they never built the structure to protect them, and I think that's a corruption. That's part of the corruption, because they want them to work for the cartels because some of these people that make those decisions are working for the cartels. Like if the legislative government works for the cartels, you're not going to get funding that you need to protect the military and law enforcement. Because why? Because they want them susceptible to the cartels and the corruption of the cartels. So really, one of the answers was to build like mega bases with family billets and all that, and commissary, entertainment, churches. So they don't have to go off base all that much. And again, the idea is it's a war. So what you're doing is you're living amongst the enemy. And that's what's happening with the military there and the police. So it's really supposed to be a war, which means they need they shouldn't even come off the base unless escorted by military escort or law enforcement escort. That's really what should happen. Right, I got to the point with all this effort. That's why I said we invade, because all this effort all this money, all this effort is for naught, because this corruption exists. Right, and it's again, I mean, you can say, well, what kind of shitty people are they? But they're not protected. I mean, it's either this or your whole family gets killed. Correct, Larry. So the only way to fight it is to build like mega bases
where law enforcement and military reside with their families. And again, the people might get upset, but it's the only way to protect the people. Right. Agreed, Mary. They go out on missions, and they come back. And, if you do it seriously, you could probably get pretty far in 2 years. So I think, you again, look what happened in El Salvador. It's a little bit more difficult in Mexico, but still. And you see that they're moving forward with the trades, seamstress and all that stuff, or I guess sewing, whatever they call it. I guess it's kind of weird to say seamstress about those gang members, but right. So that's good to see that, because we don't want a nation to stagnate. In a kind of negative place that it was. I mean, it's positive because they're cleaning it up, but again, it's a lot of negativity, a lot of war, a lot of just oppression, and and again, you got to do what you got to do, right? But to be able to get forward is the trick, and you want the next generation to be clean, so you don't have to arrest them. You want them to have a life that they don't even think about crime. Because you don't want to do that all the time, like arrest people and throw them in a cell and shave their head and all that crap, You want them to be somebody. You want them to be working for Google, right? Or even doing that, seamstress job on the outside. Right. But again, the lure of that big money and all that. So, and then some people are just abused into it. They're forced into these criminal organizations. Again, some of those people had no choice in life. It could be like the number one man today. Like, you think the most evil person in MS-13 that you ever met, you say, this is the guy, and he could be just have been forced into it when he was, 14 years old or 15 years old. Either do this or die, and we'll kill your family also. Right. Correct, Larry. We always have to remember, every one of those gang members was like a little kid one time, just some little kid with no future, actually, and that was the problem. Right. Again, we get to the liberal side of it, they start cheating, start taking money from the programs. So again, the liberals don't even have the answer, right? And they're overly lenient, right? Again, in El Salvador, they cleaned it up, and then they said, well, maybe some of you could get a side job here. Maybe we'll let you grow your hair back. Right. Make it harsh. Oh, because they'd rather be there doing a little bit of work instead of sitting in that cell all day. Right. I mean, most of them drive you nuts in themselves. Right. So again, it's possible to do these things and make it work. But don't never get stuck in the mentality that you're there as the police state. Right. Always try to get forward. I mean, you may have to stay there. I don't even know how long it takes not to be it. Right. Again, you have to have the appropriate law enforcement, the appropriate criminal justice system, so it doesn't get back to where it was. Right. Again, you can, the psychological issues that these people have are massive. Right. If you could overcome them, possibly, like, they're just, their emotion is again, sociopath and other things too. Their emotions don't track the same way. If you could actually cause them to have emotion, you could probably heal them, and they would probably go straight. 100%. And sometimes they do that by victims. Victims will come in and speak about what happened to them, what happened to their family. Right? I don't know if that would affect them or not. Right. Well, they see they do it. It's just they don't see them as people. Right? When they kill them, they're just worthless. Right. So if you present, well, this was a person, this was a family, these were good people. Right. Again, that's kind of a civil affairs, psychological operation type of thing. And then, like when kids are growing up, if you can keep them in school, if you can show them, the worth of other people and the failure of not considering that worth. So again, El Salvador is moving. I'm like connected to El Salvador from years ago. Right? I was at the SOF magazine. I must have connected, and I was asleep, but I'm sure, right? And gung ho and all that. Little Elon went around wrecking everything. Like a gremlin, I mean, I don't know. I mean, USAID may have actually helped that whole thing happen in El Salvador. For all I know. Thank you, Larry. No, not everybody's elected just based upon their own campaign. Thank you, Larry. So that well, we have an ally there. If Mexico needed help, he could help them, I'm sure. Again, and I don't want people to I don't even want people to have lives like that, because that's the key to this. That again, you see in El Salvador, we're going to try to make it so the kids don't ever enter into that life, so we don't have to arrest them. Or at least minimize it to a certain level, right? We give them that life where that's not even an option. They get married, they have families. Now, it's a miserable life to be a criminal in a gang. Miserable life. We fail as a nation when we got kids in gangs and people in gangs. And if you don't think that, that's why it exists. When you realize that, then gangs will be a thing of the past. I mean, we can blame them all we like, but why didn't we give them something different? Why couldn't we get them to something different? Maybe because we were too busy with something else, something self-centered. I still believe El Chapo could have had a normal life. I believe if he wasn't an abused child, he would have had a normal life. Again, putting a child into criminal activity is part of the abuse. I mean, God knows it all. God knows at what point that God lost El Chapo. Right? What age, what caused it. again, if you look in the scriptures, it tells you why these type of things exist. And it's usually a community thing or some oppression of certain communities. I mean, for me, when I retired, by the time I thought about going to Mexico, because I would have loved to go to Mexico to live, it was too dangerous for me because they see me, right, and will try to kill me, even if they don't know who I am, right, because Satan will put them into me. No, I had a great time in Mexico as a kid. We went there on a long trip, and we drove through Mexico. We didn't just fly in. We entered at Nuevo Laredo,